Endeavor's, as it descends into the atmosphere, an air pressure build is making a transition from spacecraft to aircraft. The steering jets that control roll for the spacecraft in orbit have been turned off, and the ailerons on the shuttle's wings are now controlling the roll motion as it banks, now banking back to the left. A second of 4 banks it will perform to slow down as it continues its approach toward Kennedy, banking to the left at about 80 degrees, approaching the coast of Central America. Now 13,400 miles per hour, or 19 times the speed of sound. Altitude 41 miles above the Pacific coast of Guatemala as it approaches the coast of Central America. In a left bank, the second of 4 banks it performs during its descent to slow down. As it continues to transition from a spacecraft to an aircraft, the steering jets used for control of pitch have now been turned off, and the elevons are active for control of that motion on board. Endeavor over the Caribbean coast of Belize now. Altitude 37 miles. 930 miles to touchdown at the Kennedy Space Center. Endeavor speed 11,000 miles per hour, or 16 times the speed of sound. 15 minutes to touchdown on runway 15. $530 miles to touchdown now for Endeavor as it continues across the Gulf of Mexico. Continuing in a left bank, a 55-degree bank to the left. The second of 4 banks it will perform a bank back to the right as it approaches the Gulf Coast of Florida, and then midway across the Florida Peninsula, a final bank back to the left as it approaches the Kennedy Space Center. Those slowing the shuttle down as it descends into the atmosphere. Altitude now 32 miles, or about 172,000 feet. Endeavor speed 7,300 miles per hour, or 10 times the speed of sound. Endeavor's rudder is the last aero surface or aircraft surface to become active on the shuttle as it transitions from spacecraft to aircraft in the atmosphere. That becoming active, once it becomes subsonic, drops below the speed of sound just as it approaches the shuttle landing facility runway.
Endeavor Houston, take TACANS.
Roger, take TACANS.
That call to Endeavor that they can use tactical air navigation system data for updated bearing information on board the shuttle. That is an update on bearing provided by a radio beacon near the landing site at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Range to touchdown 300 miles now. Altitude 28 miles. Speed 5,100 miles per hour, or 7.5 times the speed of sound. Endeavor now banking back to the right, the third of 4 banks it performs to slow down as it approaches the landing site.
Endeavor Houston, energy, ground track, and nav are go. Touchdown now, 2,700 feet at 195 knots. New speed brake numbers, 23% at 3K and 18.5% at 500 feet.
Copy all.
That call confirming that Endeavor's speed, altitude, and course are right on track for landing at the Kennedy Space Center, runway 15. 10 minutes predicted to touchdown now as it approaches the Gulf Coast of Florida. Altitude 138,000 feet, or 26 miles. Speed 4,200 miles per hour. In a bank to the right, wings angled about 40 degrees. "156 miles to touchdown for Endeavor now as we look at nighttime shuttle landing facility runway at the Kennedy Space Center. Endeavor traveling 3,100 miles per hour, 21 miles altitude, 114,000 feet. Endeavor's now banking back to the left, the final of 4 banks it's performed since it encountered the atmosphere to slow down and dissipate speed as it approaches the Kennedy Space Center. As it approaches runway 15, Endeavor will perform a left overhead 256-degree turn around the heading alignment cylinder, an imaginary cylinder created by a microwave scan beam landing system at the runway to align with runway 15.
Endeavor Houston, take air data.
Roger, take air data.
That call that the crew can use information gathered from air data probes deployed on either side of the nose of the spacecraft to update navigation information on altitude and airspeed using barometric pressure and wind speed. "82 miles to touchdown now. Endeavor's altitude 88,000 feet. Speed 1,800 miles per hour, or about 2.5 times the speed of sound. Banking to the left at about 36 degrees. Six and a half minutes to touchdown. Endeavor speed 1,200 miles per hour, just under twice the speed of sound. Altitude 72,000 feet. 48 miles to touchdown on runway 15. 5.5 minutes to the predicted touchdown. Endeavor's wings leveling now as it heads toward the heading alignment cylinder, an imaginary cylinder created by the microwave scan beam landing system at the landing site.
Houston, we see you on energy approaching the hack. New surface winds are 140 at 7, peak 9er. New altimeter 30.07. And Endeavour.
Copy.
And nominal shoot deploy.
Copy. Go for nominal shoot.
That call that Endeavor's right on track is right on its right speed as it approaches the heading alignment cylinder. Again, it will perform a left 256-degree overhead turn around that imaginary cylinder created by the microwave scan beam landing system at the runway to align with runway 15. Also, Endeavor will do a standard drag chute deploy after its touchdown. This a view through the heads-up display for Commander Brent Jett. Jett now in manual control of Endeavor's flight. Endeavor subsonic, speed now 570 miles per hour. 22 miles to touchdown. Endeavor's beginning to bank in its left overhead turn. Again, a 256-degree turn to align with runway 15. Banking to the left at 40 degrees. 19 miles to touchdown. Altitude 32,000 feet.
Endeavour Houston, on at the 180.
Copy. On at the 180.
180 degrees to go to align with runway 15 as we watch a live view from the commander's point of view. The heads-up display. Altitude 23,000 feet. $21,000 feet.
Endeavour, on at the 90.
Copy. On at the 90.
Altitude 18,000 feet. 2 minutes to touchdown at runway 15. 90 degrees left to go to align with the center of the runway. Endeavor's wings angled 35 degrees to the left as it continues around the left turn.
Endeavour Houston, roger.
This a view now of runway 15 as Endeavour begins its final descent to the runway. A descent 19 times as steep as a commercial airliner's descent to the runway. 8,000 feet. This a view from the ground of Endeavour. Altitude 6,000 feet. About 1 minute now to touchdown. $4,000 feet. 3,000 feet. 2,000 feet. This a live view from on board of the runway. Landing gear down and locked. touchdown. Main gear touchdown for Endeavour. Drag chute deployed. Nose gear touchdown. Endeavour rolling out, completing a 4.4 million mile mission that has spread the wings of the International Space Station.
We'll stop, Houston.
Endeavour Houston, Roger, will stop. Outstanding job, welcome back. We have no post-landing deltas. We'll meet you on page 5-3.
Okay, Gus, we'll meet you on 5-3.
Prepared. And both the flight crew, the ground control teams, the processing teams